he just tells me like, hey, I have this amazing idea. Let's make money while getting everybody else rich.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Living the Dream Mexico podcast, everything lifestyle and real estate.
My name is Matt. I'm the co-founder of the Elements Real Estate Group.
And my name is Lev. I'm the other co-founder of the Elements Real Estate Group. Matt?
Well, today we have a special guest, our first guest on our podcast. And we are super excited to welcome Alex from LocoLuxury. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, happy to be with both of you, and blessed to be one of the first guests.
You popped our cherry, as they say. Literally. Awesome. Good. Well, welcome. So Alex we're going to get into his story, but Alex, you are a pioneer, and I think is the right word to use, for what you're doing in the property management space, the luxury property management space in Tulum. Before we get into any of that, where are you from originally?
So I was born and raised in Montreal. Montréal, 514.
Let's go. Good. And originally from Montreal. And how long you been here now?
I've been here for 2.5 years. Got here on December 26th, 21.
Nice. And then what made you come down to Mexico, or why Mexico in the first place, and specifically Tulum?
That's a good story. So it's my business partner's idea at first. So he was in Montreal. He had a pocket t-shirt company. So where they make like custom pockets for different t-shirts. Then he went into real estate investment. So mostly like block appartements. So mostly like complexes. Multifamily.
Right.
Multifamily units. And then when COVID hit, he was looking for something a little bit more exciting. So he came to Tulum, both to party a little bit because it was one of the only places that was open, and two, to look for an investment opportunity. And so he found our first villa that we took into management. He went back to Montreal, found investors to purchase it. And because he brokered the deal and then offered to take care of the property, so really make sure that it was turnkey from A to Z, he took a percentage of ownership of that property rather than a finder's fee.
Cool.
Gotcha.
And that's where I come in. So I worked for all-inclusives for Club Med for 6 years.
Like everybody in Montreal.
It was perfect for the 20s.
Sure.
Traveled all around the Caribbean, got to meet people from different cultures, different places in the world. It was honestly a wonderful experience. I would recommend it for anybody in their 20s looking to get to know themselves, develop a good work ethic, and have fun while doing it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Then he reached out to me. We played football together in university. That's how we met. He invited me for a coffee the week after my birthday, after wishing me a happy birthday. I hadn't seen him in months. He was like, we should grab coffee. Like, all right, that's sure, I guess. And he just tells me like, hey, I have this amazing idea. Let's make money while getting everybody else rich.
Dope.
Love that. Yeah, I love that model. That's basically what we're doing too.
Pretty much. That's a good motto.
It was, and he said that to me, and I was like, is this a scene of a movie?
Yep.
He just invites me for a coffee. He says this to me. He's like, look, I want to be 50-50 partners. I want to go into something. I just bought a villa in Tulum. I would like you to be like, to help me manage it and
operations, all that. Right.
And then I was like, okay, sounds great. You know, on like in theory. Yeah. I get home.
Have you been to Tulum before? Or no?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Never been. Really?
I had no idea what it was. I
Amazing.
just heard about it, Instagram and like influencers.
Jennifer Aniston went.
Yeah.
People went. Right.
Yeah.
And so I get home and I see in my inbox already, I was like, okay, this guy's serious.
Wow,
Like,
yeah.
I had never done that in my life. I came from working from Club Med. I had like regular jobs. And so I see this, I'm like, okay, he's serious. This is cool. 2 weeks later, he's like, oh, I'm going to Tulum. You want to fly down with me?
You're on a flight.
He's like, sure.
One-way ticket right to Tulum.
Came here and did one of the biggest rookie mistakes that you can do. We came down, we got the keys to the property. So literally had just been finished being built. And we're like, okay, we have 1 week. We're going to set it up. And then we're going to go back home and it's going to be passive income and we'll just manage it from a computer.
Yeah, respond to a couple of comments from guests. And
Yeah. Maybe start an Instagram for it, get some direct bookings.
Yeah. Tulum, definitely not that kind of beast. And we learned that the hard way. So we were both back in Montreal after like the week setting it up, had a beautiful time in Tulum. First guests come, Christmas, New Year's Eve booking. It's our first booking and it's like $10,000 or $12,000 booking. So we're like, oh my God. First of all, first booking, and it's a lot of money. This needs to go perfectly. Everything needs to go well.
And did it go perfectly?
Based on that reaction, there's a few hiccups.
An absolute shit show.
I love it.
There was construction nearby, so there was noise all the time. The developer had not thought to put an AC in the main living room.
Oh no.
So we had to order an AC, have it put. The Wi-Fi wasn't working. It was cutting out because it hadn't been like properly set up and all the accounts and everything.
And all of this was happening while the guests were in the villa?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Happy New Year's.
We sent somebody to get them like chips to put in their phone and we paid for like data.
Oh my God.
And then Nick, my business partner, had a trip planned with his friends on like the 26th. Like it was the third day of the guest. And he was going into buttfuck nowhere in Quebec. I have no idea. No signal, no Wi-Fi, nothing.
Cottage country.
And he calls me. I'll remember this for my whole life. He calls me on the 26th in a panic.
Boxing Day.
Yeah, like I'm at dinner with my friends. It was like Christmas dinner the day after. And he calls me in a panic. Oh, the guests are so upset. I don't know what to do. They're going to leave a bad review. This is the first one. What do we do? At this point, I had been working with him for 2 weeks. This is my opportunity to show him that we're really 50-50 partners. I was like, okay, you pay for my flight. I leave tomorrow. And he's like, okay, yeah, thank you. Please go, go, go. So I booked my flight. The next day, I'm on a flight at 8 a.m. on a flight to Tulum with a little carry-on. Book my Airbnb from the plane, get there, land, go straight to my Airbnb, and then drop my luggage, go straight to the guest. I was like, all right. Like in Club Med, I had been
Trained
for this.
to be of service. That's right.
So I get to the villa, the guests destroy me for half an hour.
Of course.
Of course, yeah.
Which is normal.
They were bottling all in,
Yeah.
right? They're like, oh,
He's on his way. He's on his way.
He's on the plane.
write it all down.
And so I get there. They lay into me. I take everything down and I look them all in the eyes and I tell them, look, I'm going to fix everything on this list
Today.
And before you leave, we're going to be friends and we're going to go out for a beer.
I love it.
And they're like, all right,
good service.
bet. So we shake hands. I start trying to fix everything, get everything done, like work like crazy. And finally they left. We were friends. We went for the beer. We actually partied a few nights together. So it was really great.
You still keep in touch with them? Or are they like still in contact with you? Or?
I'm very bad at keeping in touch. That's on
Well,
my
hopefully
side.
they'll book one of your villas when
Yeah,
you
yeah.
stay there. Go ahead.
So I got a question because it actually sounded like you started in the luxury space with a villa, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you do any studio 1, 2 bedrooms, or are you specifically in the villa space?
But before we answer that, I have a question. What's your company called?
The company's called LocoLuxury.
LocoLuxury. And in the one sentence, what do you guys do?
We create magical moments.
Great. Good. Continue.
Wonderful. So when we first started, it was honestly just 1 3-bedroom villa. The objective was not to create a company. The objective was to manage this property. I decided to stay in Tulum because COVID closed everything down 3 days later in Montreal. And I was like, do I stay here? Do I go home? Everything's closed. I had an apartment. I had just bought a car. I called my mom and I was like, what do I do?
Mom always knows, right?
Like, should I stay here? And she's like, what's your gut feeling? I was like, I think I should stay. She's like, all right, well, we'll help you get your apartment rented. We'll help you sell your car and just stay there and you do you. And honestly, thank you, Mom. That was
Shout out to all the
push.
moms
Shout
out there.
to all the moms.
That was the push I needed.
Yeah.
And so we started with just the 3-bedroom. And then the neighbors reached out that also had 3 bedrooms.
Word of
near us.
mouth. Yeah.
So we started managing 4 3-bedroom villas that were next to each other. And then a 4-bedroom that was in La Veleta. I think we managed 2 apartments that are near Holistica. We managed 2 of those in the early days and then only progressed into villas. Now we actually still have 1 apartment, but it's like a 3-bedroom, 2-story,
Penthouse.
huge
Beautiful.
private.
Dope.
it's
Oh, I know the one
stunning.
you're talking about.
Yeah,
I've seen some
Luna?
content. Yeah, it's
The
sexy.
AHA buildings are really, really nice.
Super sexy.
And so it just kind of progressed. We would not have been able to get those incredible villas right when we started. So we built a name for ourselves. And for the first year, the entire objective was to solidify the operations and
Yeah.
make sure that we could deliver.
Get your
on
name
those
out there, deliver. Yeah. And
Systems and processes too, right?
You-
That's
Super
the most important. Yeah.
did you think you made a good decision from Mom's, when she said stay there? Especially because I know, I was in Canada during that time for a little bit because we had our son. So my wife wanted to give birth in Vancouver. I remember watching the news and the restrictions were pretty hardcore in Montreal, especially, right? Like curfews and stuff like that. So were you pretty happy that you stayed and didn't go back?
I am extremely grateful for the life that I currently live. And that would not have happened if it wasn't for that decision, for Nick having an amazing idea.
Asking you for coffee. Yeah. Everything happens, I think, the way it's supposed to. Even now, this podcast, like when we first started our company, we mentioned it briefly, but we never thought that we would be sitting here in an office, would have a solidified company, a bunch of incredible agents, business partners, all this stuff. And now we're sitting here and doing a podcast with the best property management company in Tulum. So I agree. I think everything kind of happens
for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
It does. And I am a true believer in that. Everything happens for a reason. The people you meet, through the networking and talking to people, and that's what it's all about, right? Down here, it is actually, even though it's big, there's a lot of people throughout the Riviera Maya. It's a small world when it comes to space.
Especially the expat space too, right? You have a lot of expats here that are retired and they have their own little groups and gangs that they hang out with. But people, I would say, that are in our demographic, it's rare to find people that actually live here, transition to here. You know, I think we've got maybe a dozen friends each have done it. So yeah, it's pretty good. So that's awesome that you've solidified yourself as the premier property management company in Tulum.
Yeah, I have a great team behind me and with me and around me, great partners. Honestly, without them, we couldn't do
Of course.
any of it.
Same with us. Even our videographer here. Shout out, Pavel.
Of course. Thank you. So let me ask you a question. How many villas do you currently manage? And what is a typical kind of occupancy, nightly rate? And you also have a really unique business plan, which is packages for groups of people. I was on your website going through them with my wife last night before this podcast, and it really stood out to me. I thought it was like, if somebody's booking a bachelor party, bachelorette party, or just family getaways, there's literally something for everyone. So why don't you share a bit about that?
Yeah. So you asked like 3 questions.
Yeah.
So
Occupancy on average throughout the villa space.
Yeah, we'll start with number 1.
5 bedrooms and up.
Okay, so in the properties that are 5 and up bedrooms, honestly, the occupancy rate has been excellent. It's a little bit different, and I would dare to say that 100% occupancy in 5 bedroom, 6, 7 bedroom villas is not something that I would particularly aim for. That means that your prices are too low. Usually people come to Tulum for about 4 or 5 days. We've seen with the large groups, it's usually a celebration. So either a birthday party, bachelorette, wedding,
work party, whatever. Yeah.
And so we aim for the highest possible ADR and around 65 to 70% occupancy. And then anything that gets filled in between the gaps is like a bonus. But we really try to maximize weekends and maximize the pricing. So across our entire portfolio, I would say occupancy is about 65 to 70%.
Fantastic. Yeah. And you think that's going to go up with the new airport opening up? Well, that opened, this upcoming high season's coming?
With the upcoming high season, I think so. Yeah. Because I don't think there's a possibility to build enough villas within the next 6 months, even to a year, even to 18 months.
Yeah, you were mentioning this. I remember I saw on the call the other day, and I mentioned it all the time to clients, is the finite amount of land that's in Tulum, right? It's just very, like here in Playa, you've got everything on this side of the highway, it's built out. And then on the other side is just, but in Tulum, you've got 3 main streets that go to the beach. And basically everything that's below the highway and around downtown, literally the only area to build villas, because nobody really wants to be, 30 minutes in the jungle outside of that. Like, it's just common sense. So the finite amount of land and the amount of villas that are being built is so small compared to how many studios, 1 bedrooms are being built right now. So yeah, that's good. Villa space is definitely an exciting space.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we were talking about this earlier too, if you take a look at the AirDNA data of what is actually on the market for Airbnb, studios, 1 bedrooms, tons of them, right? Now, there's going to be a need for that, just like there's going to be a need for 4, 5, 6 plus bedroom villas. So where do you see the villa space going in, say, the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. So in the next 3 to 5 years, it's obviously we're going to see a huge boom in the villa space. Like, there's been a saturation in the market, I would say, from studio to 2 bedroom condos. I think there's still a possibility for great performing 3 bedrooms that are in a nice neighborhood, that have nice amenities. There's still a lot of room. And even for studios and 2 bedrooms, it's a quality build if it's in a good location.
And a unique unit too, like a penthouse is obviously better than a mid-floor unit, right? And a white box. Like if you get a penthouse, you got all these beautiful amenities, luxury finishes, great location, it will still produce good income. But if you're buying a white box, you got a 2 bedroom right in the middle and there's 50 other units like you with white walls and you're being promised 12% return. It's like, it's not going to fucking happen.
Yeah, there's some people that like don't believe me, but a few months ago, I was in a 4 bedroom penthouse. And so I lived into the bottom unit and the top unit had, like, the top part had a lock off with a private plunge pool, a little lounge area, and like a little barbecue area. And I rented that on Airbnb, and I kept the bottom unit, and that was rented like 92% occupancy.
Exactly.
Wow.
Year round.
Right? Yeah, it's unique,
Unique,
right?
yeah.
And you got to stand out on the line too. You got to stand out on Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
Decoration, decor, amenities, and just cool things to do. Like the way I look, even when we now travel anywhere, you scroll through Airbnb and it's like professional photos. Is it decorated nicely? What does it look like outside, inside? What are the amenities and the location?
Yeah.
And then you kind of really narrow it down. So when somebody's buying down here, you have to take into
Those
consideration
5 things,
all
always.
those facts.
It's like a recipe, right? If you miss out on an ingredient, the recipe is going to be not the recipe. It tastes bad. I mean,
You don't have enough.
you're Arabic and Venezuelan, right? God, you guys have incredible cuisine. So if you miss one ingredient in Arabic cuisine, it doesn't taste the same. It's like the shawarma is terrible. Okay, so that's great. I think what you were talking about, the cyclical, the saturation that you mentioned, and then you mentioned the 1 bedrooms and studios. It's not a bad investment in overall. It's still going to be a good investment. It's going to appreciate. And especially with the population of Tulum being so low right now. I mean, there's only 50,000 people that live in Tulum. In 2012, there was 12 or 13,000 10 years ago. And Playa's got almost 400 now. Cancun's got almost 1 million. Cabo's got like 500-600. And Vallarta's got another 500. So Tulum, yeah, right now it's cyclical, right? Everything's cyclical. So you've got all these buildings being built. Yes, the demand is not there yet, but having an airport that could sustain 20 million visitors over the next decade, those are going to get filled up.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what this high season's going to be like. We were talking about this again earlier, but with the airport, with the train being completed, with the infrastructure, with the mayor of Tulum saying all the roads are going to be paved, like people can just fly right direct from Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, of course, all throughout the U.S., come to Tulum for 3-4 days a week. They can come for a weekend.
Yeah.
Party it up on
Weekend
the beach.
getaway,
Just
man.
2 hours.
And head back.
from
Yep.
Texas.
You just
Yeah,
flew in
it's
into
crazy.
the Tulum airport, right? How was
I
it?
flew in from Montreal. It was a 4.5-hour flight, $300 Canadian.
Dope.
Wow.
And I was home like
Canadian. I like that.
Canadian, yeah. Canadian
Dope.
dollars. Yeah.
223 US.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I heard too that it was like all automatic there and like very like technologically advanced. Because I just landed with my wife and kid from Toronto. We came at the Cancun airport. We had to wait like an hour for our luggage. Baby screaming, other guys just rolling on the ground. I'm like, get me out of here. But I've heard of good experiences like yourself where people say once they land in Tulum, it's like, you're out.
Yeah. Well, it's a brand new airport, right? So the
There's no one
technology there, they planned it out nicely. It's good to go. So let's get back to, yeah. So obviously you manage the most luxurious villas in Tulum. You're very well known.
Very
You
good
also
looking
have-
too. Let's add that.
But you also have packages. So let's get into that because again, it's a value stack ad. And as somebody, if I had a 6-bedroom villa, which we'll have shortly, obviously you'll be getting a call, right? 2 6-bedrooms actually combined. We'll do a podcast episode on what we're building, but you want those value stack ads to get people into those villas, right? And I think a part of that, you've actually got some amazing recognition as well. So let's talk about the packages and kind of the feedback from clients and customers that you've
What do
had.
you offer? Yeah, like what sets you guys apart? Like why should someone book a villa through LocoLuxury and not through company XYZ?
So, as you guys both know, I come from all-inclusives. And one of the gaps that I saw between all-inclusives and Airbnbs is that sense of being accompanied in your journey. So the thing that I don't like about all-inclusives is there's no privacy. So you go to an all-inclusive, you go to the restaurant, there are screaming kids, you have to wait in line for things. Like, it doesn't feel personal. And then there was Airbnbs where you go to an Airbnb, there's a lockbox, and then imagine being in Tulum and having no contact.
Yeah. Oh, I've done it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Your experience can be, you can go to Tulum and not where to go, and your experience will be horrible. And if you know where to go, you can have an amazing experience. And so what we've tried to do and what we're continuously trying to do is to bridge that gap, is to offer it as simple as possible to guests so that basically the property is the Canva and they can paint whatever picture that they
By paying.
not have to think about it, right?
Sorry.
Like if you're going to go on to an all-inclusive, one of the perks of it is that you don't really have to think about it. You just book it. Everything's there. We'll figure it out when we're there. And of course, if you're getting somewhere in Tulum and you fly in, you get it. It's a lockbox. It's dark out. The maps, you're trying to figure it all out. You can kind of feel a little lost.
And people will pay premium for that. I mean, just to have the headaches of this. I remember last year I delivered a villa at Ascensia to a client and it was almost done, but there was a couple of things that needed to be done. So he's like, you know what? Why don't I just book an Airbnb? We'll come back tomorrow. He booked one online. We walked to this place. A, started raining. B, the roads are not done around there. So it's puddles everywhere. Yeah. C, we get to the lockbox. The code that the guy gave us was wrong. So it didn't work as we're getting rained on. And then we're like trying to yell to somebody inside, hello, can you open the door? 40 minutes we stood outside in the pissing rain just trying to get into his Airbnb. So I 100% agree with what he's saying. Like that experience of being accompanied, but also have your privacy is crucial.
Yeah. It's a one-stop shop, right? And your once in a lifetime package. Tell us about that. 'Cause I went through it.
I didn't hear about this.
Oh, it's so good. I was telling my wife about it. She's like, oh my God, maybe we should just book something for a weekend and go check it out.
He told me we get nights for free.
Oh, perfect.
If we get him on the podcast.
Yeah,
so.
if we get him on the podcast. So tell us about, what is your most booked package? Because you have a few, and obviously we're going to put all your information in below for people watching, and they can go check it out themselves and obviously reach out directly to you. But out of the packages, the once in a lifetime really stood out to me. And explain some of the key highlights of that.
Yeah, so when we were designing our packages, it actually was a pretty lengthy process because we wanted to really, from all of the previous groups that we had, we looked through what were the average most booked things, what would people want the most, and we devised different packages from that. And the once in a lifetime, we just decided, okay, let's just go crazy, and we will offer the most insane experience that we could imagine in Tulum. So you have luxury transportation from the airport. You have a welcome like Prosecco with music. You have private chef, like luxury, elegant, beautiful dinners. A mixologist. You have a videographer that comes, documents the whole thing.
That's awesome.
You have a makeup artist that can come and like do makeup before you go out. Amazing. Potential companies with apparel that can come and do a little show for you so you can pick what you want to go before you go out, dress Illuminati and all that stuff. Luxury yacht, like the nicest table at Taboo or at Bagatelle. So literally everything and more so that you can come and live this literally once in a lifetime.
Once in a lifetime.
For how many people is that package usually for? Like 10 groups of 10 and up or 12 and up? Or?
We have it for 6 and up.
Cool.
And the price varies depending on the amount of people and the amount of nights. But if I'm being completely honest, we put that one there for a select amount of people that really want to go crazy and do that. But that price is so much higher that it makes the second package look like an absolute steal, and that's the one that we sell the most.
The McDonald's way. Do you want a large for an extra 25 cents? Yeah. Sure, I guess I'll take it. You want an XL? No, just a large.
Exactly.
Yeah,
super smart.
Yeah, so that makes sense, right? Because it is once in a lifetime, and it would be with a select group of people. You go out and just have an amazing time. Like I was going through that list, and I was like, Nova, come take a look at this. Look, oh, there's a videographer and photographer. Like, oh, there's makeup. There's this. Oh, you get a private yacht. You get that. I'm like, holy, I want to do this.
So our next question, I guess, would be that ties into this. Where do most of your clients come from? Like which demographic, which area of the US, Canada, Europe, where are they from?
I would say most of them come from the East Coast of the States. Okay. In vast majority, then we're starting to see more Texas. Yeah. So
California, Texas.
California, a lot of Canada as well. Starting to see more of Europe. Like there's always been Europeans coming.
Trickling, yeah.
But the Europeans seem to do more, like it seems to be more of a circuit. So they come down and they explore a little bit more the region rather than North America that comes.
This is their destination.
Yeah. Right? Well, it's a bit of a flight over too, right? So they want to go see a few different spots. Whereas for us, a few hours where we're here from.
Well, the Tulum airport, I think this whole demographic is going to expand too, because now there's talks with the Arabic countries like Saudi Arabia.
Oh,
Dubai.
we've gotten a lot.
Yeah.
In our bigger properties,
yeah.
Actually. That's great that you bring that up. Cyprus, we've gotten Dubai, we've gotten...
They're talking about direct
Emirates,
flights from Dubai. Yeah. Tokyo is another one that they're talking about having direct flights. London, Madrid. So all of those, that's going to be great. Give us a sneak peek of anything that's coming down the pipeline from LocoLuxury.
Oh, I see that smile.
Yeah.
He's got something he wants to share.
There's
What do
a
you
really exciting project that we're currently working on. It'll be the first ultra luxe large villa on Tulum Beach.
Whoa.
got? Right on the beach.
Yeah.
Impossible to
Wow.
find.
Yeah. So I would say in between, just to be a little bit more vague about it for now, in between Posada Margarita and let's say Delec. Somewhere in between there. So like prime strip.
CIA over here.
I know.
It's
He's being
between
very careful.
24.3 degrees and 18 or 17 degrees.
But it's
south.
on the beach.
Kilometer 2.3
Yeah.
and 2.8. Yeah.
Can you tell us
That's-
how many bedrooms it'll
Yeah.
have?
It's 12 bedrooms.
Wow.
12 beds.
Yeah, I was up.
Holy smokes.
You know what? I think we forgot to do something very important on this podcast that we usually do. Because you started talking about the Tulum Beach and what's coming. And we all know that Nobu's coming to Tulum.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
With Nobu Hotel and Residences. So, Robert De Niro, if you're watching the podcast, give us a shout out. We would love to have you on and talk to you about Nobu moving forward. Your people, reach out to our people. All right? Sorry, we just had to do a little.
If you
PSA.
come to Tulum, you can be the first one to stay in that new beach villa.
Oh, there you go. There's an offer.
Fantastic. So let's wrap this up because we actually have to go to Tulum and take a client out to see some of your villas, some of the other villas, because that space, in my opinion, is the best, most lucrative, most high earning space I have seen anywhere for the price point. I mean, I've even looked at AirDNA in Dubai. I've looked at other places, and the amount of money that you can make from the purchase price or compared to the purchase price, I haven't seen it anywhere.
That's ridiculous.
Anywhere. So it's great. Tell us, how can people find you? How can people reach you? How can people book with you? If you have a trip coming up this year, next year, a big group, you got to reach out to these guys. How can people find you?
Well, our Instagram is at LocoLuxury, and our website is www.loco.luxury. There's no .com.
Oh, God, these guys just
It's
do that.
luxury. That's luxury right there. We're too good for the .coms.
That was actually a discussion when we bought the domain.
guys
name.
Was it? Awesome. And we'll make sure to put all your information in the description below. So if you are looking to go book something, groups or family, or now watching this, now you should book something.
Yeah.
This is the time to do it.
Last year, I remember driving down the hotel zone and I was hitting people with my mirror on my truck because I was so busy in the hotel zone. So this year, I'm like, I can't wait to see what it's going to be. It's going to be bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you agree?
Yeah.
It-
I can't
like
wait.
the airport, people just don't grasp the concept of having 6 million people in Tulum versus 1.5 million. Like,
Yeah. Don't be that person who says, "Oh, I wish I would have bought 5 years ago when Matt and Lev and Alex said, you guys should look at investing in the villa space. And then 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you're going to say, can you imagine that villa was only 600 or 1,000 or 800 or whatever it is?
$1,000,000,
And
yeah.
now
Now
it's
it's
like
like $4.
X amount of dollars.
we actually have something very exciting coming up before we wrap up. We're collaborating with investors right now. So we're going to launch it pretty soon here. We'll do a podcast episode about it, but we want to go heavy into the villa space for investors to purchase. And we have a few business ideas on how to do it. We don't want to divulge too much info, but it's a very exciting thing we're starting. So you'll be getting lots of calls from our clients once they're built out. Anything else you want to add to the end?
One last thing for Alex, because I was on your website. Go check it out. You've been featured in a few different publications, and we forgot to mention it. It's been on the back of my mind as we've been talking. Could you share a few of your key highlights, where you've been featured, and how, again,
Well,
Or your properties?
or your properties?
property.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't been
Yeah.
featured personally. But
He's been on Forbes. Yeah. Featured on Forbes.
So one of the things that's really important for me and what I think we do differently at LocoLuxury is that marketing, branding, making the properties known is something that is extremely important to me. I want any property that we represent, I would like to be able to make it famous and that be an added value to the owner. And so every time that we've had these companies reach out, so we were featured on The Bachelor. We hosted them in 2 different of our properties.
I remember he was the bachelor.
He was.
My wife was like, look, it's Alex.
And they had reached out to us. Initially, they just wanted to purchase, like they just wanted to rent it out and just shoot. And I went back and forth. And finally, we were able to strike a deal so that they would feature the property, that we could collaborate. And they did wind up paying as well for the property. So we were able to figure something out. And I think that has a much bigger added value than if they would have just come, shoot, and like
That's literally the epitome of going above and beyond, because the owner must have been extremely thrilled that you're going to bat for him, featuring his property that's going to get future bookings for not just this year, next year, but for years and years to come, simply because of how much exposure it got.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's dope. I mean, it's so unique to have, like you say, it's not just a house. It's got a soul. It's got a vibe to it that people recognize the house as a being in Tulum, right? So that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, Alex, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Again, anybody watching wants to know and get more information, all the information is in the description below. Reach out to Alex and his team. They are absolutely fantastic. And as you know, we're only bringing on people on this podcast that we know, like, and trust. And yeah, anything else to add?
Nope. If you're in the market to get into the villa space, make sure you contact us. Reach out to the buyer's guide in the description below, and we'll take care of you and get you into the best villa possible in Tulum.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. This was lovely.
Thank you for popping our cherry.
Yeah. Until next time.